two short verses from Philippians 4. Finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Keep on doing the things that you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, and the God of peace will be with you.
Some of you who have been around in this presbytery for long enough period of time may remember that 6 years ago or so, the presbytery sent out members of the presbytery, which is you, church by church, to listen, to ask some good questions and to listen. And that listening, what they heard, became part of a 5-year plan that your general presbyter is now wondering about again as we move into it in a new way. Bill, you want to say something about that before I put words in your mouth? I'm pretty good at
your words are probably better in my mouth than mine. I have learned a great deal this past year about the impact of those visits have had on the planning committee, the Strategic Planning and Organizational Review Committee, sometimes known as SPOR, which someone says sound like it could be a fungusy sort of thing. We think of it more as a very positive way. But Bill Reinhold, who lives not far from here, is the new chair of that, and he and I and some others have been working very hard about trying to replicate some of that conversation, but push it perhaps a little deeper in terms of asking how we might see ourselves as congregations in geography, working with one another, supporting one another, and what the committees like CCRT, the Congregational Committee on Congregational Revitalization and Transformation, and ministry and some of the others, how we might position ourselves more intentionally to support the congregations one another. After 3 or 4 months of planning, we have charted a course that is going to involve some conversations really based out of an appreciative inquiry concept and model. And George and Beverly will be leading that planning part of it. The mission coordinators will be leaning on some of you to be the listeners, the ears, as we go across the presbytery. Thinking that we might, each team might do 4 to 6 conversations. We think we're going to need about 60 teams, 30 teams, pairs, 60 people, and so forth. So you begin to see how this really begins to flow out. And we have, we've been trying to set a schedule, and every time we sit down, think about, okay, and how long is it going to take to train these folks, and how many Saturdays and Sunday afternoons and whatnot we have, and so forth. The timeline gets pushed out a little bit further, but we think that it's going to be a worthwhile effort, and we invite you, as you hear about it, as it we sort of launched at the Presbytery meeting in March, if you could help sort of carry a good feeling around it, that will help others as they hear what we're trying to accomplish. It really is an effort to do some of the deep listening that you have experienced here today and yesterday, but in our various congregations and places in ministry. Is that
That's great.
okay?
You'll hear more about the details of it later, but when you hear the words appreciative inquiry, what we're really talking about is life-giving conversations. We're real good at talking about what's wrong with our churches, and the good old days and all that, and what appreciative inquiry processes teach us is that in every organization there is some life-giving force we want to know those life-giving forces. We want to celebrate those, bring those together, because until we get to that point, we can't imagine and dream together. And that's the hope of those who are trying to pull this process together. And it's a collaborative process. It's going to take lots of energy from all kinds of folks in the Presbytery, which you all are certainly part of. It's a very hopeful time. It's not just listening, because when we just listen, really, we always go back to what's wrong. And this is not about what's wrong. This is about highest and best moments. And George and I are excited about it. The mission coordinators are being wonderful, because they're being asked to do one more thing. And as usual, they're saying yes, and everybody's saying yes, and you start getting phone calls and emails from the mission coordinators, and we know you'll say yes, and we will work with you. We will help you understand how this process looks and the difference it can make. The difference it can make in the life of Coastal Carolina's Presbytery's future together. We are the Presbytery. They are not them. We are the Presbytery. And so this morning, as we round out our time with you, we want to introduce you to what this might look like on a real small scale. And so we ask you to partner with somebody next to you. We really want